Okay, so what are we cooking today?
And today we're going to make a pie with spring onion, which I've sautéed in a bit of oil, fennel, lots of fennel chopped up, which is good, and pumpkin, chopped up pumpkin, a few spinach leaves, and a bit of mint and lemon balm to give it an extra flavour.
You haven't measured anything, I've noticed.
I haven't measured anything, it's just by sight. You know, you can add other things if you wanted to, parsley, other aromatic herbs that you like. But I've got these, so I've sautéed the onion. And I put the fennel in, because that needs to be cooked for a bit as well. And it's also, you know, the leaves, as the fennel is, it's not the whole twig. It's sort of, I pull it like that and I throw away the stems. So it's just a matter of pulling it and catching all the leaves like that and throwing that out. So I'll put that on the heat with some water and cook them a bit as well, and then we'll put the pumpkin in on top. We put a bit of water in it as well, because it has to cook. The fennel has to cook. So that's a couple of glasses probably of water, and just gently wilt it to soften it. Don't want to boil it, you know. Just soften it up and have it gently cooking there for a bit. Leave it like that. This has taken us an hour to cook it and steam it with a bit of water, so there's, you know, not much or very little water left. So it did need 2 glasses of water on a medium heat. And now we'll put the pumpkin in and a few green leaves.
So what are the green leaves?
The green leaves are silver beet or spinach, and some mint and a bit of lemon balm to give it flavour. But, you know, if you had a lot more, you could put a lot more in. That just depends on what you've got on hand. So this again, the pumpkin will soften and release a lot of water. So we don't want it to be, you know, like soup, of course. We'll just put a bit of water in it to help it along. That's like, you know, a wine glass. You can put some salt over it. Turmeric is lovely, and it's a spice that I use a lot in practically every dish I make now, past few years. Does need pepper, and I think we'll put a bit of cumin in it as well, just to give it a bit of a stronger flavour, because cumin goes well with pumpkin, I think. So now it's still on medium heat because you don't want to burn it. It has to, pumpkin has to soften and release its juices, and it'll cook again. So that's about half of a big pumpkin. So I'll just leave it like that now, and it'll probably take another hour maybe, we'll see. Oh, we can dribble a bit of oil over it too, which gives it a beautiful flavour. There it goes. Okay, we're going to make the spinach pie. We're going to put in a couple of cups of plain flour. Always sift it, just to make sure there's no bugs in it, and also it makes it lighter. And then we put in some salt. Then we've got some yeast, dry yeast, which is a packet, 8 grams it is. Put that in, which makes the dough nicer. And they also say it's better on the stomach as well. And then we put in a shot of raki or ouzo. You could use ouzo. Raki is what the Cretans drink a lot of, but we drink a lot as well here actually. Just like that. And you also put a dribble of vinegar, which is our vinegar, and it's quite strong. Now all of that helps to make a nice dough. And then we dribble oil, so I'd say this is about 3/4 of a cup, or half a cup anyway. And mix it in quickly. with a blunt bladed knife, and then you have to crumble it to get the oil and everything into it, and also you get a lot of air, oxygen into the flour as well, which helps make a lighter dough. Now I've just heated up some water, so you don't put cold water in, cold. Quite ample. That's the secret, shall we say, as well, is to do it quickly and not, to overdo it. Now, if we had time, we could let it stand for half an hour or whatever, which makes it, it's good for the dough always to allow it, but you won't now. I found out from the baker in Ayos years and years ago, because I couldn't make a good pastry sheet. I said, how do you do it? And he said, you need to use lots of flour, whereas I, of course, wasn't. I was being careful with it. He said, no, don't worry about it. And he showed me in the workshop there, his pastry was just covered in mounds of flour, because it's like you're sort of putting layers and layers of pastry on it every time you sprinkle.
So you've just used about half of the amount you had.
A bit more than half, 3/4 say, because this is the sheet, the bottom, and it has to come up the sides as well of the tray. The women in the north of Greece are the experts at making pastry sheets. I don't know how they do it. They just open them up perfectly round shapes, as whatever size, but it's a perfect round shape like the table. Now we'll put oil on the base of the pan, like that. See how it goes. Not the best pastry sheet I've done, but nothing is thrown away, everybody eats it. And you can just chop this off like that. There you go. Just put it there. This is the amount of mixture that we made, so it's plenty, of course, and we don't want the water, the juices of it in it. And the rest can be frozen. I strain it, get the juices out, put it in a container and freeze it for another time.
It's not very thick.
No, you don't, some people like a thick one, but this is a good thickness. If it's too thick, just a matter of how it turns out often as well, Some people make them very thin, like 1/2 inch thin sort of thing. And it depends on the thickness of the pastry. So if you want a thick one, then you'll make the pastry thicker to hold it as well, You don't want a thin pastry in a thick mixture, because it will disintegrate when you pick the piece up. But that's plenty, it's fine. Now you can add feta cheese or any nice yellow cheese that you like, a strong one. So I've got some goat's cheese here, grated, which is from last year. It's been in brine, so it's got a nice mature flavour to it as well, and a bit salty. So the mixture isn't, just put a little bit of salt so it's not salty, so you can sprinkle as much of that on as you like. And now I've beaten 2 eggs, which just sort of dribble it like that so it goes everywhere. It'll seep through a bit and sort of binds it, I guess, and just gives it another flavour. Right. Now we have to open up the other sheet. I think even just for those 5 or 10 minutes that it was left to stand, it's opening out better. Just needs that time to rest. And you can leave it and put it in the fridge if you like, a couple of hours, and it opens out beautifully afterwards. And any pastry that's left over, if it's too much, I cut it all away, put it in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer, when you can get it out and use it again. And once it's been in the freezer, it just opens out like elastic material. Thin out the edges more, because otherwise if you're pressing all the time the centre becomes quite thin. The edges might be thicker. That's about a good size, I think. There. There it is.
Are we going to save some egg for the top?
No. It's just for the centre, for the filling. Put oil and water on top, pour it all over. There it is. Jab it everywhere. Now we've got this water, half a glass, and then you can put oil in it. You don't put just oil on top, you put water as well. You pour it all over. There you are, and it's ready for the oven. Preheated the oven at 180. I've got the heat on the bottom of the oven. I leave it there for about a quarter of an hour and then turn it down to 150 and keep an eye on it. So 10 past 8, say 25 past 8, we'll have a look at it. There we are. Pie, an hour and about 10 minutes it took at 180. I didn't turn it down, and it's just a nice golden colour. When it comes away from the sides, you know it's cooked. It's ready to be taken out. So with a nice cup of tea, that looks good and up to eat. Pastry's nice and crisp, you know, light and flaky a bit. Very nice, turned out well.
Let's eat it.